When we play in the Superdome for fans like ours, you want to win big. And the New Orleans Saints are getting ready to do just that. Hello, I'm Darylyn Moore, and I don't have to tell you about my town. You can just hear it. New Orleans is Bourbon Street and all that jazz. It's the French Quarter, and a city famous for pretty girls. And you don't know what having a good time means till you've been to Mardi Gras. But you know the people here work as hard as they play. They run the third largest port in the world and have made New Orleans a major oil refining and medical center. And between the good living and the hard work, they take time to be United Way volunteers. They help the mentally ill and handicapped, work in the boys' clubs, YWCA, and many other agencies funded by our United Way. New Orleans wouldn't be the same without them. For all our volunteers, we'd like to say, thanks to you, it works. For all of us, the United Way.
The preceding announcement was brought to you as a public service by the National Football League. This is Vin Scully along with Alex Hawkins at the Superdome in Los Angeles here against a fired-up New Orleans Saints ball club. Those are the numbers. The big difference, of course, would be yardage in passing and the fact that New Orleans has rushed well against the Rams.
It's that and the fact that the Rams are not having much success rushing against a team that usually gives up about 200 yards a game. And they've held the Rams, who are number one in rushing, to just 44.
There is one story that is not on the board or in the numbers. If you were with us, you saw what, as far as Los Angeles was concerned, was a disputed play. A fake field goal by New Orleans and a pass from Tom Blanchard, the holder, to a boy who normally is a defensive end, Aloysius Grooms. And Grooms was all alone to catch the touchdown. The Rams were furious. What everybody chuckled about here in New Orleans at halftime, when they looked at that play on instant replay, Blanchard, in lining up to be the holder for a field goal, was on the wrong side of the ball because Rick Zorro is a left-footed kicker. There wouldn't have been any way that Zorro could have kicked the field goal out of the hold held by Tom Blanchard, and that has got to tick the Rams off when it looked that obvious there was something was up.
Well, I missed that too, Ben, but I don't feel any worse than the Rams do for missing it.
Well, I think everybody who loves sports will be looking forward to Super Saturday on November the 5th here at CBS. And just look at the interesting action we'll have for you. Series Championship of Women's Tennis. Chris Evert, Virginia Wade, Billie Jean King, Martina Navratilova, and Betty Stove from Mission Hills. After the tennis, we go to the CBS Sports Spectacular World Middleweight Boxing Championship. Rodrigo Valdez and Benny Briscoe, televised live from Campione, Italy. Valdez, by the way, 59-6-2, and he won the WBC middleweight title with a 7th-round KO of Briscoe back in 1974. Briscoe, however, is 58-14-5 since then. Then, from Washington, D.C. International, 26th running of this 1.5-mile grass course race, major turf race in the United States from the Laurel Race Course in Maryland. And to top the afternoon off, the World's Strongest Men competition. This would be the 5th event of the decathlon, the tire toss. The object, throw a regulation-sized automobile tire, 35 pounds in weight, 28 inches in diameter, as if it were a discus for distance and accuracy. That's all coming up Saturday, November the 5th. Have you ever thrown a tire as if it were a discus, Alex?
How big do your hands have to be?
Only some of those guys down on the field could enter that competition. Well, it is 20-17. The Rams, who had fumbled away twice for costly scores, recovered a New Orleans fumble and settled for a field goal. So they start the second half leading 20-17. Mauti and Willis will be twin safety men going back to receive. And in a moment, Raphael Septien will be kicking off for Los Angeles. So the Rams 20 and the Saints 17. You know, when Septien first joined the Rams and they scored a touchdown, he seriously asked, could we go for 2?
Well, go for 2.
They said, son, we better give you a rule book.
Going to kick a touchdown, huh?
Yeah. So the boy from Mexico City starts us off. And it'll be Willis from his 2-yard line. To the 15, Jodat slows him up, and McClain is 1 of 2 to bring him down, along with Jackie Wallace.
The Rams are very, very high on Jim Jodat. He's from Carthage, and I guess it's in Wisconsin or someplace. Missouri, I guess.
Right.
But they're very, very high on him as offensive back, and he's doing a good job on the special teams. There it is. Cleveland unloading on Kansas City, 37-zip.
Well, that's an 18-yard return to spot the ball on the New Orleans 19 at the start of the third quarter. 1st and 10. Bobby Scott at the wheel with Galbraith and Strawn, the running back. Galbraith inside Strawn's block, and he got almost to the 30-yard line. He's very close to a first down. A good block by Mike Strawn was springing him. Elmendorf at the bottom of the pile with Bill Simpson.
Isaiah Robertson, number 58. Fine linebacker, but look what he has done to him by Mike Strawn that time. Reaches on, but you don't bring a guy like Galbraith down with one hand or on a jersey like that. And that's his 3rd jersey of the game.
He's going to tie a National League record with 4 jerseys very shortly. Herman goes wide right and Gilliam left. The tight end who is so important, Henry Childs, is on the right side. And a quick out to Herman, overshot the mark. Pat Thomas ready to ride him out of bounds. New Orleans trying to recapture the feeling. This place was going wild, and that last fumble might really have changed the whole atmosphere, and you really feel atmosphere when you're in the Superdome.
Don't you, though? Or when you come to the city.
All right, 2nd and 10. The ball on the 30-yard line of New Orleans. Here comes Strawn. He has Zander trying to block, and Strawn is out across the 35 to the 7-yard line. Bob Brzezinski turned the play in, although he himself was ridden out by Galbraith. Cody Jones, along with Elmendorf again, stopping the flow. Mike Strawn, he's backing up Chuck Muncie, so you haven't heard too much about him. The first thing you have to learn is how to spell his name. It is not the way it sounds. It's Strachan, but it comes out Strawn. 3rd and 2 from the 38. Under big rush. Overthrown for Don Herman. It was Larry Brooks coming like a runaway truck, and Scott had one look at that big number 90, and he just threw the ball out of sight.
When you mention the Rams in the defensive secondary, Larry Brooks comes, defensive line, but look at that. Pat Thomas, they've been working on him all day, but they haven't had all that much luck for him.
Now, he's 5 for 13 for 90 yards, is Bobby Scott. And Tom Blanchard, whose last punt was a beauty of 45, will be ready to punt, and Billy Waddy is all alone on the Ram 15-yard line. Remember, the last punt that Waddy fielded, he fumbled. Blanchard, who had retired last year, Hank Stram talked him out of it. And Billy Waddy from the 12. The 35. And if it wasn't for Kingray, he's gone. Kingray, number 53, Rick Kingray, 7-year man out of Tulane, local school, able to slow him down. A 50-yard punt from the line of scrimmage. Look at the NFL regionals, as we also see a flag down on the field. Upcoming next week, Dallas versus the New York Giants. Dallas trying to remain unbeaten. New Orleans will go against Philadelphia, San Francisco, and Atlanta. Chicago will be at Houston. Green Bay versus Kansas City. St. Louis versus Minnesota, and Tampa Bay will come a-visiting to the Coliseum. A personal foul and evidently a clip on that punt, and it's against the Rams naturally, so they will lose some yardage and will go down to the field and pick up the call and the culprit. They will spot the ball on the Rams' 6-yard line. And Tom Mack wants to know the whys and the wherefores.
Who done it? Who done it?
The ball was in the air. Well, evidently having trouble with the wireless mic, as you can tell, but the Rams will take over 1st and 10 from their own 6-yard line. Wendell Tyler is in there with Lawrence McCutcheon. Dwight Scales is in a slot inside Harold Jackson to the right. And Scales in motion. He's picked up by Jimmy Stewart. McCutcheon into a crowd, and Pat Hughes stacked it up, and then Ernie Jackson came up to lower the boom, number 30. But Pat Hughes, 54, was the man. He's playing in place of Greg Westbrook.
The Rams getting back to the basic football. Let's take it back to the basics.
Boy,
establish the running game.
If ever there was a time to stick to the basics, that's when the ball was on your own 6. So 2nd and 4, a pickup of 6. They spot the ball on the 12. Wendell Tyler in there with McCutcheon, so Capoletti resting. Scales left and Jackson right. McCutcheon. And Wendell Tyler threw a block. It wasn't much of a block, so he got up and tried to block again, and he was just overwhelmed. And all the while, McCutcheon had nowhere to go. McCutcheon has carried 13 times for 34 yards, so he's struggling not even at the 3.
As a final on that Minnesota-Atlanta game, Minnesota wins it 14-7. But McCutcheon, he has had 5 games against the Saints where he's rushed for over 100 yards. Usually has a big game. This puts L.A., if they should win, in first place, sole possession in that Western Division.
3rd and 3 for Pat Hayden. And it's to Dwight Scales to the 25 and ridden out of bounds at the 28-yard line. Clarence Chapman, who seems to be Johnny on the spot for New Orleans, pushing Dwight Scales out of there. Scales has caught 1 touchdown pass so far this year. He's out of Grambling. Here's Rafael Septien, along with Jackie Wallace and other members of the Rams on the far sideline.
Jackie Wallace acquired from Baltimore. Free agent there. Good find.
1st and 10 on the Ram 28. In motion is Billy Waddy, and here comes Wendell Tyler with Harrell leading the way, and he's swallowed up by Bob Pollard.
Wendell Tyler's a local boy from Shreveport, Louisiana. He will excite you, averaging better than 7 yards a carry. 2 touchdowns, the longest of which is 44 yards, and that's interesting because as long as Chuck Knox has been the coach of the Rams, they've never had a run from scrimmage over 49 yards. He closed in on it last week.
By the way, in Wendell Tyler's personal history book, it should always be noted, his first professional touchdown against New Orleans.
Sudden death in Houston and Cincinnati. Pastorini completing a last-second touchdown pass to Ronnie Coleman.
2nd and 8 from the 30. A pass to Harold Jackson, and he's knocked down as he crossed the 35 and got to the 36-yard line. This time it was Jimmy Stewart over there to make the tackle and knock him out. So the Rams playing ball control now, and they have the lead, 20-17. The New Orleans upstarts led and looked like the best the Rams would get would be a tie at halftime. But a fumble by New Orleans, a field goal by Septien has given them a 3-point lead. 2 tight ends on 3rd and 1. Terry Nelson on the right and Charles Young on the left. McCutcheon and Tyler, the running backs. McCutcheon and Clutch, as they call him, driving for the first down with Bob Pollard arms around him. We'll see if they have to measure.
Ferragamo and Namath. Who would go in, do you think, Ben, in case of an injury?
I was thinking, too, if you had to caption that, you could say perhaps yesterday and tomorrow.
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad at all.
Well, they picked up the first down on the Ram 39-yard line. 20-17, Los Angeles, 10 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. Jackson is right with Waddy the other way. They split the backs, and Tyler is still in there with McCutcheon. The backs stay in the block. The pass is for Waddy, and he was out of bounds. Right there with him was Jimmy Stewart as they both sailed out of bounds, no doubt about it. Billy Waddy, boy, he brings that extra dimension to any ball club. The longest pass that he has caught this year is 42 yards, but he's averaging 19 a reception, and he's another fella who's accustomed to company. He has 8 brothers and 5 sisters.
Oh, buddy. Number 2 draft choice for him. I asked Carol Rosenblum's son, Steve, if he was the fastest player in the squad. He said, put the in parentheses. He is the fastest.
We should have known he was going to be something because he broke Cliff Branch's records at Colorado, and you have to be some kind of man to do that.
That's stepping. Yes, sir.
2nd and 10 from the Ram 40. Wendell Tyler fumbled but recovered it. In fact, in all honesty, I think you should call it a juggle instead of a fumble. It never really left him. He had a rep of fumbling at UCLA, but he had a broken wrist when he was a junior, and that's a pretty good reason why you dropped the ball.
That's right. And they put him on a weight program, strengthened his hand, which was about half as strong as it should have been. There you see it coming out. Boy, isn't it funny how the ball will bounce? Sometimes it comes right up to you.
So Wendell able to hold on to the ball. 3rd and 6 from the 44. Jackson is left and Waddy is right. They're coming. They're coming. New Orleans recovers. And it was Chuck Christ along with Alois Grooms who put the heat on, but Christ, who was in on a blitz earlier, and Alois Groom, number 78, who scored a touchdown in the first half, has recovered a fumble in the second half. Is he ever somewhere else?
A most unlikely hero, Ben. But Chuck Christ, that's the second time in this ball game you see him blitzing right there, splitting between the center and the guard. Second time it's been successful.
Boy, that Christ, when he comes, it must feel like it's the center turning around and taking a shot at you.
Very reckless. All out. Yes, sir.
So the Saints now, with 9 minutes and 12 seconds, have recovered the 3rd Ram fumble. And Muncie is in there with Galbraith. A pitch out to Galbraith. He gets to the 30-yard line, trying to go behind a block by Morrison, number 76. But it took him a little while to run around Morrison, and that brought up the defense to get him, Robertson and Youngblood among others.
Jack Youngblood there, slow starter, but coming on the last couple games. But historically, he's been kind of a slow starter.
2nd down and 7 for the Saints on the Ram 29-yard line. Gilliam is left, Herman is right. Muncie and Galbraith behind Scott. And it's Galbraith. Again, it was Morrison trying to lead the blocking, number 76, but he is stripped immediately, and Galbraith really had nowhere to go. New England.
So that is the final. Grogan's passed for a couple touchdowns in that ball game as New England goes on to beat the Jets 24-13.
3rd and 4 from the 26. Don Morrison, who farms, they tell me, 220 acres, is trying to farm the Ram line right now as the primary blocker. Scott to Muncie. Muncie tries the other way, and he's decked high by Isaiah Robertson and low by Larry Brooks. Well, Robertson tried to ring his bell.
So why wouldn't you run Muncie? He's averaging 4.2 yards per carry, and you don't need but 4. Let's see what happens.
The Ram bench leading by 3, but unhappy over their performance today, as well they might be. 2 previous fumbles accounting for 10 Saints points. One led to a field goal, the other a touchdown. Now another Ram fumble, and the Saints trying to capitalize and at least get even. They measure for the 1st down.
0.2 of an inch short.
Yep, inches.
Just an inch or so.
And the crowd is hollering go. Bobby Scott went over to talk to Hank Stram. After all, the Saints are playing loose and easy. They're not going anywhere.
And that surprises me a little bit. Don Shula and his Dolphins go under to the San Diego with a score of 14-13.
Well, the Beef Trust comes in now. 2 tight ends for New Orleans. That means James Thaxton along with Henry Childs. Big play, 4th and 1. The ball is on the Ram 23-yard line.
Look at that finger working for Bobby Douglas. Now, here's the way it is, and let's get it done that way.
Biggest play of the day for New Orleans, although we still have plenty to go, 7:40. But it appeared as if the Saints had lost the initiative at the first half closing. Now suddenly they have a chance to raise the roof of this place again.
And raise it they will, brother, when they in the closing minutes. They can make some noise down here. They have a fun time at the games.
Again, we will have 2 officials huddling for the moment. Make it 3 now. So it is 4th and 1 from the 22. And they're still not ready. And again, New Orleans will go back into the huddle. The only man to go in and inquire is Jack Youngblood. And the The Saints calmly going about their business. A big call, a big play. The Saints trying to regain the initiative.
I understand that the clock is not working properly, and until they get that started, they're going to have a little delay.
I couldn't figure that because when the play went off, according to the clock, it showed still 20 seconds. So evidently it is on the fritz, and we'll just have to discount it. The 30-second clocks at either end of the Superdome. So Bobby Scott, for the third time, regroups his forces. The ball is just shy of the 22-yard line, 4th and 1.
Now we got that clock working, as you can see at the top of your picture.
Muncy and Galbraith behind Scott. And it's Galbraith, and he's got it across the 20. And with an extra burst, he picked up down to about the 18-yard line.
A lot of faith in Morrison and Childs going over that right side when you run at a guy like Jack Youngblood. Well, frankly, it surprised me they'd go there. Don Morrison started as a rookie, played on the left side. They moved him over to the right. He's made the adjustment. A dependable, steady player.
Yep, number 76. He's the one who's been throwing some key blocks. 1st and 10 on the Ram 18-yard line. Herman is right. John Gilliam wide left. Boy, we haven't heard from him all day. Here comes Muncy with Galbraith in front of him, but he runs into Dreyer and then gets away from him. Dreyer had him at about the 18, and he punched it across the 15-yard line before Bill Simpson brought him down.
He looks a little battered, too. Those jerseys, the tearaways, are being very well used today and very effective. Look at the strength of this guy. Gracious, when you run into a guy like Freddie Dreyer and just shed him like water off a duck's back. Boy, he's a powerful guy. Physically, he's probably the most talented, potentially talented runner in the game.
2nd and 5 from the 13. Here comes Muncy inside Galbraith. Runs into a crowd still on his feet to the 2-yard line. Pat Thomas tripped him up or he has a touchdown.
The strength and the balance. Chuck Muncy, last year's #1 draft pick. Watching. Good block there by Galbraith. Morrison into the picture there. Spins away from Youngblood. Look how he holds his balance. Didn't even knock him off stride.
Pat Thomas finally tripped him up. Another fine block by Tony Galbraith. Boy, what a game he is playing. So it is 1st and goal from the 2. Childs and Thaxton, the 2 tight ends, and Mouty is on a wing. Muncy and Galbraith. It'll be Muncy, and he's knocked down shy of the goal line. 4 Rams hit him almost simultaneously.
And so predictable. Put Galbraith in there ahead of you. He weighs about, what, 235 pounds? And a guy that weighs about the same running the ball behind you in the short yardage, why not?
Chuck Knox, who in all of his years, like any other NFL coach, has ups and downs. He's trying to find an up here, and the Saints have him down. Although it is 20-17 Rams at least for the moment. 2nd down. About 1.5 yards away from the goal line. Galbraith! Galbraith, touchdown! .32 yards in 8 plays, and a very quiet Ram bench and a noisy Superdome.
Watch Cody Jones. Cody Jones will bury himself. Galbraith will take the opportunity to just go over the top. Short yardage situations, you see it happen a lot.
Galbraith somehow scored that touchdown without losing his jersey.
He'll be back the next possession, though.
Now, we were talking about the fake field goal. Will you see now where Blanchard is, since you have a left-footed kicker? On the touchdown, he was on the other side. The kick is up. The kick is good. And the New Orleans Saints, playing with that down-home music in the Bayou Country, they have 24. And the Los Angeles Rams, ready to butt somebody, they have 20.
Up all this cargo. Yet for all this, the new Fairmont wagon, as shown, is actually sticker price less than this little VW Rabbit. Test drive Fairmont, the newest, better idea from the Wagon Master.
This fresh egg is going to help us sell this brand new Freeflex shoe from Freeman. Watch. can do it with any new Freeman Freeflex. Let's use the same egg.
Vin Scully along with Alex Hawkins. It is 24-20 Saints. 4 minutes and 44 seconds to go in the third quarter. Rick Zorro ready to kick off for New Orleans. The deep man, Wendell Tyler, flanked on the right by Jim Jodat and on the left by Cullen Bryant. Zorro waiting, and there's Tyler waiting for the leather. Big man out of UCLA. And the Rams, of course, would like to have somebody bust one now to recapture the momentum. The crowd restless. We're ready. And now Zorro says, okay, I'm ready to kick it. Saints 24, Rams 20. A short kick, angled down the right side. Jim Jodat will take it at the 15. To the 30, and bangs out of bounds. Rick Mouty, the first man to hit him, and then Jimmy Stewart and Len Willis. A 15-yard return by Jim Jodat. And the Rams will put it in play. 1st and 10 from their own 31-yard line. 3 costly Ram fumbles, and in a close-up of Chuck Knox just a moment ago, he was talking to Hayden about defending against the blitz that has burned the Rams twice by Chuck Crisp. Championship Saturday, November the 5th. We'll talk to you about that again in a moment. Now Billy Waddy in motion right. McCutcheon. And he carries it out across the 35. Championship Saturday, November the 5th. It'll start off with the Women's Tennis Championship. Chris Evert, Virginia Wade, Billie Jean King, Martina Navratilova, and Betty Stowe. Then the World Middleweight Boxing Championship on the CBS Sports Spectacular. Rodrigo Valdez and Benny Briscoe. Followed by the Washington, D.C. International, 1.5 miles on grass, and then the 5th event of the decathlon of the world's strongest men. That's next Saturday. Look out for Lawrence McCutcheon. He's across the 45-yard line, dragging Ernie Jackson with him, among others.
Now it's time to get serious for the Los Angeles Rams. Run the basics. Rich Saul making the key block there on Derlin Moore, just completely wipes him out. Alec Price cannot get the hand over there and can't stop him there. Chuck Crisp finally coming in, wrestling him down.
And that late arrival on the scene, Ernie Jackson, and Cincinnati had just enough to knock off Houston 13-10. 1st and 10 from the Ram 49. McCutcheon got across the 45, and number 57, Jim Merlo, brought him down. Lawrence McCutcheon. Only one other Ram back in history has rushed for over 5,000 yards, Dick Bass, 5,400. McCutcheon needed 178 yards to get to 5,000. And he has always picked up 100, let's say 5 out of 9 meetings against the Saints. 2 weeks ago, he rushed for 126. He has 64 today. And Pat Hayden asking for time.
He's not going to take a chance if there's any mix-up of another Chuck Crisp blitz or anything like that. Get it straight. Look how poised the Rams are, though.
I was just going to ask you, Alex, when a moment ago we saw Chuck Knox talking to Hayden about defending the blitz, when we come back from this commercial message, I might try and figure out who's going to pick up the blitz.
All righty.
It's about time you're here. Another late night, I presume? Well, let's get started. The first thing we have for your assignment is this microcassette tape recorder.
Genius. Did you design this, huh?
Well, no, actually, it's a Sony. Next is this radio with 32 worldwide bands, can tune in just about any place.
Extraordinary. Who gets the credit for this one?
This is a Sony, too. You'll also need this ultra-compact portable video camera, and we're going to mount this 5-inch color TV in your car, along with this Betamax deck for playback.
Remarkable. They,
Yes, they're Sony also.
Excuse me, sir, but did you just walk into a store and buy these?
Well, yes.
Well, keep up the good work, sir.
If it's a little extraordinary, chances are it's a Sony.
Monday, Logan, Jessica, and Rem are captured by a society with an amazing secret. Behold the terror the future holds. Logan's Run, Monday at 8, 7 Central and Mountain.
There's John Capoletti, an offensive back, along with some defensive players. Al Cowling, Bill Simpson, among others. Capoletti has not seen much service at all. It's been Wendell Tyler of late. Billy Waddy goes wide left, Harold Jackson right. And it's Cullen Bryant in there now with Lawrence McCutcheon. Bryant blocking for McCutcheon, who gets across the 40 down to about the 38. Alex, we've got a moment on the blitz, and we've seen safety man Chuck Crisp blitz twice successfully. We saw Knox talking to Hayden. Whose responsibility is?
That'll be one of the backs. And if you remember on the last blitz, Wendell Tyler was in the backfield at the time, being kind of unfamiliar with the position because he's been used halfback and fullback and all that. Might have messed him up. They're responsible for that.
All right, the Rams have picked up the first down on the New Orleans 37-yard line. Hayden passing on first down. And throws intended for Billy Waddy. Ernie Jackson was right there defending. An interested spectator. They also serve who only stand and wait. And for the first time in his life, he's waiting. Joe Namath.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, they say he's handling himself extremely well, though. He resigned himself to the fact he's going to be a backup quarterback, and he says, I'll make every contribution I can. You got to hand it to the guy.
Yeah, it's a tough and very unfamiliar role for Namath. 2nd and 10 from the New Orleans 37-yard line. The Saints leading the Rams 24-20. 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go in the third quarter. Slot right with Waddy inside Jackson, and now they send Waddy in motion. McCutcheon fighting his way for a yard. He almost lost it to Derland Moore, number 74. Moore had him behind the line of scrimmage, but he got away, and Alex Price finally brought him down.
Ooh, Dallas is striking hard. Detroit, not a good road team. 30-0.
Well, Dallas playing New York, trying to go undefeated.
They are so powerful. So much depth.
Third down and a big 7 from the 34. Waddy is right, Jackson is left. And it's Bryant and McCutcheon. And Hayden going deep to Jackson. What a save by Clarence Chapman. He was a guy who qualified, and you can take a look on an NCAA track meet. He ran 60 yards in 6'1", and he needed it there.
He needed every bit of it that time. He was beaten on the play. Just a last great effort there, getting a hand in there. Jackson was behind him. Great play by Clarence Chapman.
And Pat Hayden took a little lick from Pat Hughes, so he'll remember that play. But Clarence Chapman saved it. And now, with the score 24-20 Saints, Raphael Septien is going to try and kick a 52-yard field goal. Well, he's done it in practice. He's done it in college. He's made it from 36. He's made it from 27. This one is out of gas. No good. So the Rams are denied thanks to that magnificent defensive effort by Clarence Chapman. And the Saints are still holding on to the clarinet, and they're leading 24-20.
Want to cut your fuel bills? Whether your house is new or old, put insulation everywhere. It can save you money. Your attic, you need a 6 to 12-inch blanket of pink Owens Corning fiberglass. Walls, full insulation. Unheated crawl space, insulate below the floor. Live where it's cold, insulate basement walls. See your Owens Corning fiberglass supplier to learn all about insulation. Insulation is cheaper than oil.
You got a place to get to. Exxon knows along the way. It's nice to hear somebody say, thanks for coming by today. Exxon wants you here tomorrow. It's always nice to say, come on in, hey, where you been? Thanks for coming by today.
Thanks for coming by.
Pat Hayden is 13 for 20 for 192 yards and 2 touchdowns. But he just missed a third one, and he's a little downcast for the moment and taking a breather. New Orleans takes over 1st and 10 on their own 34. Henry Childs goes wide right and a slot left with Herman inside Gilliam. As Strawn with Galbraith blocking. And Strawn knocked out of bounds. He crossed the 40-yard line. He went out at the 42. Jim Youngblood grabbing him and dragging him out. Mike Strawn on the sideline, a somewhat pensive player, alone with his thoughts, as are most of the Rams for the moment, down by 4.
Don't worry about Mike Strawn. You know, he's filling in for Muncie and sharing the duties there. In 75, he was having an outstanding season, 600 and some yards until he got hurt in the 11th game as a final in that Washington game.
Talking about hurt, Jack Youngblood was hurt, taken to the sidelines. Al Cowlings is in there now. 2nd and 2 from the 42. Galbraith fights his way, and he might have made the first down despite Larry Brooks. There's Jack Youngblood along with Vince Ferragamo, and Youngblood has to come out. And, of course, for Jack Youngblood, it'll be a big blow to the Ram defense if they lose that defensive end. Al Cowlings, the 7-year veteran out of SC, picking up the slack.
The Rams somehow don't look the least bit concerned on the bench, do they?
I guess they feel that having already scored 20, they can score a lot more. For the Saints, they're coming out of a dogfight last week where they came up short despite scoring over 30. So here they go, 3rd and 1 from the 43. Galbraith. And it would appear as if he made it. If Galbraith only had Galbraith blocking for him, he'd be something.
He is good. He is a fine blocker.
And now, Raphael Septien, who knows now that his foot might very well figure in this battle of field goals, among other things, and particularly since he has been cut earlier by New Orleans, you can imagine the mixed emotions he has down here. He spent a lengthy 10 minutes before the game talking to Rick Zorro, who does the kicking for the Saints. Well, let's see if he made it. The angle appeared as if he did. Now they say 2 inches. And the crowd hollers, go for it. And Hank Strand says thank you, but no thank you.
Not at this point in time.
We're leading by 4. Why in the world do we want to give him the ball here if we come up a buck short? So Henry, with epaulets on his T-shirts, patrolling the sidelines for New Orleans. Billy Waddy all alone on his 15-yard line. And Tom Blanchard, who has 2 punts and an average of 47.5. And there's Billy Waddy standing on the 15. New Orleans, however, has had a very poor punt coverage team thus far. Waddy from the 23, and a fair catch, and that'll be that. So the Rams will take over. 42 seconds left to go in the 3rd quarter. The Saints 24, the Rams 20. In a battle of fumbles, and so far, New Orleans has picked off more than the Rams.
Here's to good friends. Tonight is
Well,
kind of special.
tomorrow we go back to civilization. Let's have a last night in the wilderness party.
Yeah, I've got just what we need.
So tonight.
Hey, hello, Brown. You've been hiding that all week? I was waiting for the right moment.
When you want the taste of a truly great beer, tonight, let it be Lowenbrau.
Well, like the song says, here's to good friends.
Let it be Lowenbrau.
With the price of most things going up, the sticker price of Pinto, the best-selling American small car, is coming down. As of October 3rd, new 78 model Pintos with more standard features will have a lower sticker price than last year's model comparably equipped. Important features are now standard, like AM radio, power front disc brakes, rear window defroster, tinted glass, and protective body side moldings. Ford Pinto, more car for the money than last year. When America needs a better idea, Ford puts it on wheels.
With 42 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter, the Saints leading the Rams 24-20. The Rams take over 1st and 10 on their own 24. Harold Jackson wide right. Waddy goes left. Wendell Tyler is in there now with McCutcheon. It's McCutcheon for a couple. in looking at some of the important numbers, you have to concentrate on Tony Galbraith, who has carried 18 times. He's been the workhorse offensively, 18 times for 80 yards. And Lawrence McCutcheon has carried 20 times for 77 yards. They've been the principal runners today. 2nd and 6 from the 28, a pickup of 4. McCutcheon, and a flag, a penalty against Wendell Tyler. You can bet the house that Wendell Tyler held.
No doubt about it, Ben. He reached out with his right arm.
Oh,
Let's
is
see if
that
we
obvious?
can pick it up. Let's see if we can pick it up here. Pat Hayden hands off, and it should be coming in the picture just ahead of you. Left side of your screen. Oh, caught it a little bit late.
But the officials caught it right away.
Yes, sir. No doubt about it.
Pat Hughes, the linebacker, had beaten Tyler, and Wendell instinctively reached out and grabbed him by the jersey, and standing right in front of him was a motorcycle policeman ready to write out the ticket.
Well, the Rams very predictable, though. They're keeping the ball on the ground, keeping the poise, not worried about it, trying to establish the basics.
That's back to the 18-yard line. Personal foul.
Pat Hayden, sooner or later, is going to have to reach in the bag and come up with a trick or two.
By the way, that wireless microphone worn by the referee is not our equipment. That's the league's microphone. 3 seconds to go in the third quarter. 2nd down and 15 from the 19. And Hayden belted, but not all, even though New Orleans, Derlin Moore chases the ball in the end zone. And time would appear to have run out as we take another look.
See, I believe it was Derlin Moore.
So that's the end of the third quarter with the score, the Saints 24, the Rams 20. We now pause for a word from your local station.
A half-wild mountain child that's kept under lock and key brings Rafferty onto the scene tomorrow night on CBS.
John Capoletti, who had carried the ball 103 times this year and only one fumble, suddenly finds himself on the sidelines as first Tyler and then Bryant alternates with McCutcheon. 3rd and 15 after that holding call charge against Wendell Tyler. Backstay into block. And Hayden deep to Harold Jackson at the 35. And Chapman has him by the jersey, brings him down at the 24-yard line. Harold Jackson wide open, and Hayden hit him on the money.
The man can just fly. The coverage was there. He just simply outran the coverage by a wide margin. The pass is underthrown a little bit by Pat Hayden, who's worked to strengthen his arm, and in fact has. Look how much behind him it was. He just outdistanced the coverage. And Clarence Chapman, as you know, can step it.
That's a 59-yard coverage play on a pass from Pat Hayden to Harold Jackson. Jackson's longest this year, 37 yards. He had averaged almost 13 a catch.
When you've got two guys like Harold Jackson and Bill Waddy, you can't even rely on your zone defenses because they outrun the zone coverage.
Well, the Rams needed a big play, and it would appear as if they have gotten it now. 5 defensive backs for New Orleans. Hayden has it 1st and 10 on the Saints 23. Lawrence McCutcheon, and he barrels to the 15. Picked up 8, so it should be 2nd and 2. Chuck Christ at the bottom of the pile, number 44.
I believe there was Cullen Bryant in there blocking in the backfield for him. I wonder what happened to John Capoletti. We have not seen him.
Capoletti left the field. He was not injured to our knowledge. They've just decided to alternate Tyler and Bryant. Bryant's in there again with McCutcheon. Jackson right and Waddy left. 2nd and 3.5. McCutcheon going to the 10. Bumped and knocked out of bounds at the 8-yard line.
Ernie Jackson again coming in there making the stop. I don't know how many plays he's figured in on a day. There's one more look at John Capoletti. Now McCutcheon bounces outside. Reggie's blocking very well. Cullen Bryant putting a nice block on there. There's a guy, though, that rarely breaks the long runs, but he's very consistent. Ernie Jackson, if he's just a little bigger, there's Chuck Chris giving a little bit of an out-of-bounds action there.
McCutcheon has carried 22 times for 93 yards, and he's going to carry again, spinning and driving to the 2 and leaving Saints in his wake. So McCutcheon is indeed the workhorse for the Rams. The Ram bench, as you mentioned earlier, not appeared worried, as if they can score against New Orleans. Been their own fumbles and a couple of breaks that kept the Saints in the game.
And what a heartbreaker for the Saints if they should go ahead and win the ball game, because they've lost so many games this year that they've been in nearly every game this year.
McCutcheon needs 1 yard to get 100. And he's in there with Wendell Tyler now. And that's Bryant as a wide receiver. And McCutcheon got the yard and got a touchdown with it. 76 yards in 7 plays for the Rams, and they are now leading 26-24.
The mark of a championship team, though, right there. Needing a yard, being able to get it, and the way they handle themselves, like they're not surprised at all that they made it.
So Lawrence McCutcheon, for the 6th time in 10 meetings with New Orleans, goes over the 100-yard mark rushing. He needs 78 yards to get to the 5,000-yard mark in his career. He is the 2nd NFC rusher, averaging 4, and in 24 carries for 100, his average a little better than 4 today. Lawrence McCutcheon. Clutch, they call him, and clutch he is. Now Septien trying to make it 27-24. Whoa, bad pass. A flag on the play. Septien. Ha ha ha. What to do? Throw it up in the air. And it's picked off by Ernie Jackson. And I was thinking of Garo Yefremian when I was watching Septien.
Boy, when something like that happens, they lose their poise altogether.
Flag on the play, remember?
You would think as much time as those kickers have spent by they could handle themselves in situations like that a little more.
It looks like offsides, a preliminary signal. There it is. Offsides against the Rams. So offsides plus a bad snap from center. So the Rams 26 and the Saints 24. We have 12 minutes and 55 seconds left to go in the ballgame. Boy, whatever you do, don't go wandering off.